What's up, everyone? Matt Crane here on the Power of Great podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. You know, we come into your radio, we come into your computer, your smartphone, and guys, I'm very fortunate. The live videos hit 6 different continents, and that's something I'm very proud of. And, you know, the whole purpose of the Power of Great is to help everyone recognize that their current situation is not their defining moment. And I've got to tell you, the gentleman we have today is very special for me. My man, Matt Manero. You know, I think everybody on planet Earth at some form or fashion has been connected through Grant Cardone. And I was so fortunate to meet Matt Manero through a Grant Cardone interaction. And I will tell you guys, there's not a more humble giant in an industry than Matt Manero, because he stays true to his blue blood. And that's what I love about him. You know, Matt launched his first business, Commercial Fleet Financing Incorporated, in 1995 with a phone, a folding table, and an unyielding confidence of a single client and a trucker. Moved that 20 years, and now Commercial Fleet Financing Incorporated make Inc. magazine's top 500 out of 5,000 list, fastest growing companies in America in 2014. He's the creator and personality behind CFFNation.com, the first and only online video network featuring original programming for and by innovators, operators, movers, and shakers of the transportation industry. His companies have been recognized in trade publications such as Overdrive, Transport Topics, Commercial Carrier Journey, Dealer Solutions Magazine, and guys, it gets better. Matt hosts his own weekly radio show, aptly named The Grit, which airs on lifestyletalkradio.com and also on CFFNation.com. If that's not enough, in addition to The Grit, he has authored a series of quick read books entitled 10 Tips Every Trucker, Tower, Mover, and Construction Company Needs to Know Now, and also has a forthcoming book, I Need More Money, which reflects his battle to build his business and guide readers in creating their own future and financial success. My man, Matt Manero. Welcome to the Power of Great.
Happy to be here, buddy.
Yes. Well, you know, Matt, I tell you, for all of those that are out there on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher, you know, you've really played a very instrumental role for me over the past year and a half. As you can see behind me, those of you that are going to see this live video, I've got Matt Manero's book, The Grit. And I have to tell Matt this. He doesn't know this, but I called in the Matt's radio show because he put a challenge out that says, if you call in and you get through and you want to ask me a question, I'm going to send you a copy of my book. This was the very first book any influencer that I met online sent to me that was personally signed, and it's completely helped transform the way that I look at everything. When I got that book, Matt, that had a signature and the bracelets, I felt like I had arrived, and man, I wasn't even close. Right? It was kind of like putting on your dad's shoes and thinking you could walk in and realizing all you were doing was tripping and busting your nose. You know what I'm saying?
I do, man. I know all about it.
So, you know, I really want to jump into the show, Matt. You really talk about grit and being the only thing you need to make millions. And I got to tell you, everything you provide in value is really that gritty mentality. Talk to us about why grit is so important to you and why it's so much more than just an industry thing for you.
Well, look, man, to me, it's all about humility. It's all about the hard work. It's about the grind. But you know, how do you get through the tough times, man? I mean, so many people go through hard times forever. The point is, it should be just a chapter. It should just be a blip on the radar screen. It shouldn't be life. And so when I look back to try to answer that question, the only thing that connected to me was this concept of grit, which I ended up writing the book about, which is, what do you do in the darkest days? It's not what do you do when you're in a parking lot and you see a Lambo there, and so you snap a picture in front of it and then you put some Photoshop to it and make it look like that's you. It's what do you do when you can't pay the bills, when the mortgage is due, when the kids are saying, I want to go to Disney World, and you don't have any money. How do you get through those times and turn it into success? And for me, it's grit. Grit means the ability to do anything legal, anything, to get to that pleasure side of your business. I use grit as a term of business, but it really is a term of life. And, you know, it's become a phenomenon in my office, and I hope it becomes a bigger phenomenon across the country, this grit movement. There's a shortage of grit, man.
Yeah, I think you could not have summed that up better. Is that, you know, spare me the $100 bill pictures and the Lamborghini photoshops, and show me your sleeves rolled up and sweat rolling off your brow and your face dirty because you're in the trenches. And, you know, that's something that I would tell all of our listeners that, you know, indirectly you challenge me on every day. Is, you know, I'm always trying to make moves and trying to get in front of influencers and finding my way, and yet I can always count on my man Matt Manero just hitting me right in the grill and saying, "Hey, bro, you got talent, but show me the grind, man. You know, show me the grind." And I love that about you. So, you know, recently you just partnered. So for those of you that are out there listening, once again, we want to say thank you on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. We've got my man Matt Manero, CEO and founder of Commercial Fleet Financing Incorporated. One of the fastest growing companies in America, by the way, by Inc. Magazine. Not only just one of the fastest growing, but 500 out of 5,000. Okay.
Hey, so, by the way, that's for 14, 15, and now we just won it for 16 too. That's 3 years in a row after 20 years in business, man. That's tough to do.
That is tough to do, and especially in the transportation space.
It's a tough space.
Let's make sure we also talk to our listeners about that. But you recently, you know, you started CFF Nation. It's now transitioned into roadgrit.tv. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when you first started, you were really looking for shows. You launched a lot of people's careers based on that network. And talk to us about staying gritty with the network and how it's transitioned into now a partnership with Apple TV and Roku.
Man, that's been a huge challenge for us. Our commitment to the intention of building that network. We built that network because nobody else was. I mean, there was no place for truckers, construction guys, towing companies, our clients to go to and get good positive motivation. There's tons of websites out there for them to go and talk about how lousy the industry is, and how unpaid they are, and how bad the shippers are. But there's no place to go there that tells you how to run a better business, to how to get physically fit, to how to get better insurance, to stay motivated, to stay excited, how to grow your business. So we built the damn thing. And we built it with 0 views, none. And today we get 150,000 views a month on that network. And it is by far the largest online digital network for the transportation space. So we did a deal with Roku and Apple, and they came to us and said, look, we love the network, but we don't really get this idea of CFF Nation, because, Matt, I was trying to build it to help the industry, but also help commercial fleet. And it quickly grew past that. And I had to give it its own entity and its own sort of lifeline. And so we changed the name to roadgrit.tv, and it has literally just gone like this since that. I mean, the views on Apple TV and Roku are things that we couldn't even dream of. And now we have a reality TV show that we just filmed the pilot on, called Truckers Credit, which is being pitched to CNBC, the History Channel, National Geographic, all those guys. And it's not first round stuff. We're already in like second and third round conversations. So I think there'll be a reality TV show that spurs from the network too.
Wow. So there again, guys, you just heard it. It's the first time I've heard it. My man's got a reality television show, but I want to backtrack to what he talked about earlier. Now, you see how my man just breezed by it because he knows what it takes, but he said this was 20 years in the making.
Yeah.
So one thing I think is very important for the listeners out there is that Matt is sitting here able to expertly talk to you about this because he's put in 20 years of grit. And so, Matt, talk to us. You know, you have a saying that I was thinking too small, too early. Talk to us about how thinking too small probably held you back from being able to get to this point 10 years earlier.
It cost me a decade, without question. I'm 47 years old, and I wasted 10 years of my 21 years in business thinking too small, period, end of story. I did not think big enough. And really, Matt, that dovetails. It is a Cardone concept, but it dovetails to this concept of potential. Man, I was chasing my buddies. I was chasing my neighbors. I was chasing other people's success, and I was not connected to what was I capable of achieving for me as an individual. And when I understood that concept after way too long, it just exploded for me. I mean, we went from $36 million a year. It took me 18 months to build a $36 million a year business. And it took me 18 years to get to 36 million. It took me 18 months to get to 100 after I stopped worrying about what other people were doing and started to worry about what I was capable of. But think of the time that it cost me. It cost me 18 years of my grinding it, working it, all the sleepless nights, telling my wife we can't afford it, which I need to dovetail on that. I never use that saying we can't afford it. I never use that saying. I just use no. Right? Because when you say you can't afford it, that means you're buying into that. I would just say no. The kids need to go to Disney World. No. I never said we couldn't afford it. And by the way, maybe we could have afforded it, but it was just, I was just so committed to getting to the next level and getting out of what I refer to as this pain side of business. We all live in the pain side of our business way too long. And so it's been a long, tough road for me, man. It is for those people who want to hang a shingle and file the incorporation papers and get some business cards printed by, I see the ads, all over the place of my business turned around because Instaprints printed my business cards. It's such bullshit. It's such a joke. I remember I made one of my sales guys wait a year and a half before I got him business cards.
Yeah, and I think to use your term dovetail, I think what it really boils down to, Matt, is that by thinking too small, you move too small. You weren't moving big enough, and it was causing you to have to use those small words like no. Right?
I blew it, man. I really did, Matt. I just and listen, everyone falls for the same problems. I mean, most of us didn't have parents, and this isn't a unique concept, but most of us didn't have parents that were pushing us to reach our potential. It's, again, never taught to us in school. Most of us never really have good mentors. We just have people who want to eliminate their version of our pain, and so they want to keep us thinking in a very narrow band. And in order to get true success, you have to expand that band to insane levels. I mean, I just posted this week on social a picture of the Navy SEALs, at Bud Camp. And my quote on that was, "This is uncomfortable. What you're doing isn't," right? So if we have the luxury of sitting in an office and the only thing we have to do that's standing in the way between us and lots of money is a phone, try being a Navy SEAL in Bud Camp.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a firm believer of what you just said is that, when I now look back on what my parents would say is I didn't want you to make the same mistakes I did. What they were really telling me is I don't want you to think too big and have too big of a disappointment.
Yeah.
And, so I've always been the type, man. I mean, you've known me for well over a year. I've always been the type that knew I had talent, but I always leaned on someone else to cut me a check, right?
Yeah.
I was always operating inside someone else's bubble. And yet I just had to make the decision, hey, man, if you really want to be with the big boys and you really want to play at a level that other people think you can play at, you got to go do it. And this past 6 months, hey, I've understood what big boys go through.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I know you're grinding it. And you're building something that is meaningful and helpful to a lot of people. But, I mean, I've seen you, man. You have not given up. You've stayed in the fight for a long period of time. And that with 100% guarantee will turn into success.
Well, I remember I still have it recorded because I went back and I downloaded the episode of the show that I was on. And I remember the first conversation that you and I had, and I actually was tearing up during this conversation because I remember when I sat in the dark because I didn't have enough money to pay my utility bills, and I'm burning candles. And I'm sitting here, going to myself, what the hell was wrong with me? I almost exceeded a professional baseball career, but because I was thinking too small and thought all this fancy talk and fancy walk made me somebody cool, I blew signing bonuses. I misused my education. And then all of a sudden, I'm being told where to sit, how to act, how to drive, and all this other stuff. And you know what I got to show for it? a freaking utility bill that I couldn't pay for.
Hey, you got two choices to look at that situation. One is Matt screwed up. I was a failure at it. I should have done better. Or those were all preparation for where I needed to be. I mean, that's only two ways. That glass is half empty or half full, pal.
Yeah. Well, I firmly believe that it's that attitude that leads me into my next concept is that it firmly put me in the driver's seat to receive information from influencers such as you and Grant Cardone. And I want to talk about Grant Cardone for a minute with you, Matt, because I believe for both of us, he played an instrumental role in really expanding our mindset. And I know for you personally, you really took to heart, your episode of Power Players with him, you talk about it quite a bit and how you were able to sit down and have that one-on-one time with him in his office. And, talk to us about just the influence that Grant has meant to you and your business, and how it's also transitioned into you being able to step out and influence others and give back to others in the way that you do now.
Look, Cardone made a huge impact on my life long before I knew him and long before I was friends with him. I read the book. I listened to the audio version of the book, The 10X, and it was like pouring fuel on my fire. I was already gritty, fired up. I was screaming to go to the next step, and then I read that doggone book, and it really changed everything for me. The other thing that Cardone has helped me with is he leads by example. And so no matter how gritty and tough and hard I think I'm pushing, I watch that guy and I say, man, I got more to do. And dude, that guy's rich, right? So when a guy's pushing at that level, you begin to really test your purpose. So here's the bottom line on all of that though, Matt. When the paycheck on Friday, the direct deposit doesn't matter anymore, that's when life really begins. And people spend too much time searching and hustling for that paycheck. But dude, you need to get to that paycheck where it don't matter. That's when it begins. That's when you really start to reach your purpose and who the hell are you supposed to be, because you're not broke no more.
I love that. And I kind of want to switch gears a little bit. We've been talking about a lot of your personal journey, but I really want to get into this book that you're coming out with, I Need More Money. One of the things that Matt Manero says, guys, that's listening out there on Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, watching this video on 6 different continents, he says, I am the eyes and ears of the economy. I know firsthand when the economy is speeding up and when the economy is slowing down. And here lately, you've really been talking to us about how you're seeing the wheels on the truck start to slow and how your ability to know you need more money is ramping up. So talk to us about that process and just how, definitive you are now about going after it all.
We're not going into a slowing economy. We're in a slowing economy. And I have leading data that tells me I finance truckers. Truckers haul freight. And when freight is down, that means people aren't buying. And when people aren't buying, everything else dominoes. And my truckers are telling me that freight is down, freight rates are down, their need for them to buy more equipment is not there. And so they are starting to contract. And that's been going on for 60 to 90 days for us. And trucking is without question the leading indicator. And so there's no doubt in my mind we are in a slowing economy. It's not coming. We're in it. Most people don't see it, though. I still see lots of people buying new cars and taking fancy vacations and all that stuff. And what they need to be doing is working harder and stacking and racking cash, because we're about to get started into an economic slowdown. When this election is over, 2017 and 2018 are going to be tough years.
Well, you heard it there, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, and I could not think that it's more true, because he's exactly right. I remember when you never had a shortage of truck drivers, and there was never trailers sitting empty, and there weren't an issue of carriers that were folding. But I think what you really bring to the table for so many that they take for granted is that, you're right you're in the trenches with an industry that's the heartbeat of America.
Dude, you don't need to watch CNBC or read the Wall Street Journal. You just need to listen to I Need More Money, because I know it. When trucking goes slow, the rest follows. And I've seen it 3 different times in my 21 years. I saw it in 95 when I started. I saw it in 01, 02 when it got real bad. I saw it in 08, 09. That's 7 years each time. If you add that to say we came out of this thing fully in 10, that puts us square in 16 and into 17. And it's going to be a slow time. I know it. Now, here's the question. What are we going to do about it? Right? Are we going to contract? What are we going to do about it? That's the question. And the answer is we're going to expand.
Absolutely. And I think that it goes back to your point of is that's when you got to ramp up the activity. So for everybody right now thinking small, thinking that your bank account is safe enough, thinking that your job security is safe enough, I would have to say that you're probably thinking a little bit too small. You need to ramp up your value-based system. You need to start servicing your boss. You need to become inexpendable at your job, because if your boss, hey, I have that mentality now that, I have no choice but to be the one thing people can't lose. And the only way I'm going to do that is to stay in your face. And I had, I tell you what, Matt, I had somebody the other day say, Matt, you're always on social media, man. You're always everywhere. You're everywhere. And I say, well, I appreciate that. It lets me know that you're also always watching.
Yeah. But Matt, there becomes a key point, though, that everybody needs to understand, because we can grind it out and we can do this and draw attention to ourselves, but sooner or later it has to be monetized. And I want to go back to your Cardone question, because one of the things I learned from Cardone that was just invaluable was he said, don't do any of this if it doesn't benefit your core channel of distribution. In other words, your existing money machine. And so, a lot of things that we do, it's certainly expanded into a little bit of a Matt Manero as a business guy and the leader of my companies. But trust me, the more people who know who I am, the more people know who my core channel of distribution is, which is equipment financing. And so all of our marketing efforts is to help more customers run better businesses and therefore know who the heck we are when they need to buy equipment.
That's a phenomenal point, Matt, and one that I'm so thankful you brought up, is you're exactly right. It's a lesson that I learned for, well over 900 days, is that it's great to get attention, but what the hell do you do with it? And if you're not making any money, you're just a glorified pitch man for everybody else.
You bet. So it's important. It's about, in my morning scrum this morning, I was saying to the gang, I was like, listen, have you ever wanted to get into real estate? Right? Yeah, I want to get into real estate. Yeah, good. And you drive by that sign that says for sale? Yeah. I love that. I see it. I do it all the time. You got to call the damn sign. That's how you get into real estate. You got to say, send me the details so I can look at the deal, and then you got to move. So it becomes, everybody loves to take it in, Matt, but very few people take it in and actually put it to work to monetize it. And you have to have that core channel of distribution. Otherwise, you could waste a tremendous amount of time for no money. And I'm thankful that, I have some successful businesses that all of what we're doing draws more attention to that. But if I didn't have that business, I tell you the truth, I'd be working double hard to do both. I'd be building some form of my channel of distribution, my core business, my cash, my small business money machine, which we talk about, my new book, but then obviously overlaying the attention. But by the way, you can do it, man. You can bang the phone all day long and then stay up till 11 o'clock at night working on your social. You can do both. It's just a matter of if you're going to allocate that kind of time.
Absolutely. And as we begin to wrap up the show, Matt, I want to again thank you for your time today, and for everyone that's listening on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, watching this video on 6 different continents. There's not one person that's not going to walk away with value. More importantly, what Matt really does better than I think so many people that I have heard try to talk about the transportation industry is he shows how it involves and affects everyone. And I think that's very important. So, Matt, recently, well, not recently, but you guys started a truck tank. You had a truck tank show that I thought was really popular, got a lot of attention. Talk to us about how much fun that was for you and how that concept really came about.
Yeah, it was killer. I mean, it was just in a quick marketing meeting. We said, how do we make a trade show interesting? Because I hate trade shows. I think they're, for the most part, a complete waste of money. And, I always like to draw attention to ourselves at trade shows. I don't want my people, I'm not going to pay for a trade show for my salespeople to sit behind it and wait for customers to come. So for years, we've had the wheels that you spin and the things that you crank, the noisemakers, all that stuff. And we said, well, how do we go to the next level with it? So let's do a Shark Tank for truckers. And we did it called Truck Tank at last year's Great American Truck Show. It was a huge success. We turned it into a show on our network. And wouldn't you know it, this week we signed a 4 convention deal in the towing industry. And this weekend is the first of 4 tow tank competitions. We're doing Texas this weekend. We do Baltimore, which is the largest tow show in the world, in November. We do Las Vegas in May, and then the 4th one is back in Texas next year. And we will be hosting Tow Tank at that and helping towers get their small business ideas off the ground. So it's been incredibly rewarding for us to give back to the industry like that. And by the way, the company that won it has gone on to do unbelievable things called Workhound. Young guys with a software program for the trucking industry. Their business has grown exponentially since winning Truck Tank.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's also goes to show, guys, that when you think too small, you miss windows of opportunities just like this that now have led to a 4-part deal over just a quick marketing way to ramp up a trade show. So if you're sitting there on the couch and you're doodling an idea, quit doodling the freaking thing and go out and make it happen. Because what's the worst thing that's going to happen is that you have to continue to keep pushing, right, Matt?
Yeah, but Matt, here's the thing. If you're sitting on your couch listening to this right now, you're probably too far gone. What really is happening is people who are not sitting on their couch, but they're just slightly off their couch. They're living in this nightmare of getting up every day, going to a job they hate. They're going to the office, getting paid just a little bit. They're not bringing value to the organization. They're not skilling up. They're listening to music on the way to their job. They're listening to music on the way home. They can't wait till lunchtime. They're figuring out at 11 o'clock they're pulling out online menus, looking what they're all going to order for lunch. That's the person that needs to benefit from this, because that's the one who gets hurt by time, dude. If you're broke, that's easy to get out of broke. It's hard to get out of the middle.
Yeah, that's a great point, Matt. Excellent point. So to sum it up here, guys, we've had Matt Manero, president, founder of Commercial Fleet Financing Incorporated, right here on the Power of Great, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. I got to say, he's one of my mentors. He was the first major influencer that reached out to me, that really started to catapult me into a bigger way of thinking, held me accountable, refused to quit on me, and constantly shows up for me. And I got to tell you guys, I always show up for him. And he knows that when push comes to shove, that there's nobody that he can call fast enough other than me, and I'll get in the trenches with him, that's for sure. But, Matt, as we wrap up the show, talk to us about how people can get in touch with you, where they can find more of your stuff. And I know here lately you just launched a free download of the book, The Grit.
Look, let's get down to the fact of that. Why did I do that? The Grit is a self-published book. My new book is a big publisher deal, and I'm very fortunate with that. But The Grit was a self-published book. And it's not a biography. It's just some simple ways for business owners to just reattach to fundamental concepts in business that, done over a long period of time, are guaranteed to win. And we weren't selling that much in the last 3-4 months. And my stance was, well, what are we doing? I don't need the money from selling the Grit book anyway. It doesn't move my needle one way or the other. Give the damn thing away for free. And so that's what we did. And so we launched that last Thursday. It's available mattmanero.com/ebook. And we have had over 1,000 downloads since last Thursday afternoon of that ebook. And the testimonials that I have gotten are just unbelievable. I mean, one guy said and you've read the book. I talk about, some bullying and stuff that happened at a young age for me. He said that he was bullied mercifully in elementary school to the point where he wanted to commit suicide. But something kicked in, he fought back, and now he's gone on to live a very happy and productive life, father, lovely family, all sort of stuff. Man, when you can touch people like that, give the damn thing away for free. What the hell are you waiting on? You're waiting for somebody to hit your website and pay it $19? Give the damn thing away for free. That's how you make impact.
Yeah, I'm so pleased to say this. My favorite part of the book was the chapter on your mama was wrong. Because it was the only time I was able to use you as a scapegoat on me telling her that.
Hey, listen, Matt, one of the things that I appreciate and respect the most about you, though, was as you read that, and you would have probably done it long before you read it, but you took it to heart, man, because your mama said it wrong when she told you the first step is what matters. Dude, the first step don't matter in a world of grit. It's the second, the third. They stay in the fight for a long, long time. And, dude, you've done it. Yeah. The ups and downs, the ins and outs, the people who said, what's Matt Crane doing? And guess what? There's Matt Crane again.
Yep.
There's Matt Crane again. There's Matt Crane again. Right. I love that about you, man.
Yeah, there's one thing that I will say is that I'm going to do my testimonial when it's all said and done for you, but I think part of my testimonial is going to be when I get to the point where I'm not worried about my deposits. Because I think for me, your book really catapulted me. And I know I've told you this before, but your book catapulted me into a whole new direction of thinking. And I will tell you, without your book, without that radio show, without that first conversation you and I had, I would have never been able to meet Cardone, Coach Michael Burke, go through all those growing pains, meet these guys that have just helped mold me into things I need to do, and sure as hell showed me things that I didn't need to do.
I love it. Yeah.
And, guys, so once again, if you're in the trucking industry, if you are looking for ways to expand and grow your business, my man, Matt Manero, can finance all your needs. So, Matt, tell everybody that's listening out there in the industry how they can contact your team and inquire more about your services?
Everybody knows somebody in trucking. Everybody knows somebody with a truck. And so if you want to help those people get expertise and great rates and service and all that, we want to help you. So it's CFF, Charlie Frank Frank, nationwide.com. That's the business. And then mattmanero.com for anything else that you may need as far as speaking or books or any of that sort of stuff. But again, Matt, it's my pleasure, dude. I love your persistence. I love your commitment to being gritty and your support of me, man. Listen, it's a two-way street, dude. There have been times where I needed something, and guess what? On my text pops up, Matt Crane, and I say, son of a gun, man, this guy won't give up. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, there you have it. Matt Crane, your host for the Power of Great podcast that airs every week on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Look, we bring people, we bring motivation, we bring messaging, but what we do bring is the recognition that your current situation is not your defining moment. Look, success is not a measure of what you step out of. It's what you're committed to step into that ultimately is the dash that will read on your tombstone. So I want to say thank you, my man, Matt Manero. Dude, this guy's a mic dropper like nobody's business. Came in, shut the place down. And guys and gals, for everyone out there that listens to the podcast, that subscribed, left a review, and then also hits our videos on YouTube on 6 different continents, I want to say thank you. It's an honor. It's a privilege to serve you every week. And we'll see you guys next time.